Today I'm just going to be talking about, want of a better word, the matrix, the system. If you're familiar with what I've released and published from my researchers, you'll know that I have dealt with this subject all along. And truly I can say, as you will agree, the light is getting brighter every day and we are getting more clarity and understanding of the system, the matrix, as some people call it. Matrix refers back to mother, the mother system, you know, the web that keeps us trapped. You see, many people talk about this world, the physical world, as a big mistake. It's an aberration. The demiurgos, the demons, they created a trap, a material trap. And this earth is a prison. And the solar system and the archons that have built it have built all of this holographic illusion for our entrapment, and so our souls cannot escape, blah, blah, blah. You hear people going on about this all the time. Then on the other hand, people will tell you that this is just a plane where souls are purified and then off they go to bliss for all eternity and go to heaven. The Catholics teach that souls go to heaven or purgatory or hell, limbo. So there's many varied ways and perceptions and perspectives of looking at this world. Rest assured that all those individuals that share their opinions and their beliefs with you are telling you half-truths. They will never be teaching you a full lie. There's no need to teach full lies. And rest assured that both of those polarities are true when it comes to this world. Yes, we are living in a prison, and yes, the archons and the cosmocrators, the Elohim, the makers, the potters of Memphis, are tyrants. They are also benefic and loving archangelic creatures. And so, just as we are, have a look at yourself. Take a good, hard look at yourself. You might see perfection in yourself. And it's there. Perfection is there. You might see a lot of blemishes. And you might be thinking about that bad thing you did yesterday to your brother or your sister, those bad words you spoke, or the hurt that you gave to some individual somewhere along the line in your life. And so you immediately realize that you have both two fountains. You have a fountain of pure good source energy charging your body, but it expresses itself sometimes as good, sometimes as evil. Even by your own standards, you will find that this is true. By anyone's standards, by anyone's perception and perspective, there will be good and there will be not so good parts about each and every one of us. And so the matrix from the heavens has been projected down to the earth. The controllers above are very similar to the controllers below. Down here on earth, we also have entities that want to control. They just love controlling. Basically, there are two types of humans, man, woman. There is the fire type and there is the water type. Some say the earth type. The fire people, they seem to be never satisfied and always ambitious. And the water people seem to be content and to be more passive in their way. And so there's always been a war between the two brothers. One brother, Cain, he's aggressive and wants to achieve much and please God. But Abel, he's already got God's pleasure, so he doesn't think about it much. So Cain kills Abel. Pollux and Castor, Jacob and Esau, Satan and the devil, Horus and Set, The list goes on and on and on. And so what we have is as above, so below. Who are the controllers below that are doing the work or the will of the controllers above? Well, you just have to look at who is controlling everything, who seems to have the power. Let's have a look at these organisations, shall we? What I'm going to do today is I'm going to expose all the controlling mechanisms, all of them, as I've always done. And let's start at the top, shall we, with Rome, the Vatican, the Holy See, the Roman Curia, the Roman cult. This is where you always must begin all your earthly empire control mechanism journey. Everything goes back to Rome. All roads go back to Rome. They all lead to Rome, all of them. London, DC, Zionism, militant Islamists, all of them. They were all born in Rome, all of them. Everything is born, all evil ideas of control are born in Rome first. And you can go back to Nero, you can go back to Julius Caesar, you can go back to, oh goodness, there's a long chain of tyrants. Boniface the Eighth, Pope Boniface the Eighth in 1302 with Unum Sanctum. You can look at the Jesuits after that and their bloody history. Constantine and his donation of Constantine from 325 AD. Justinian, a couple of hundred years after Constantine, he tried to fix the law of Rome and probably ruined a lot of them, of course, created a whole bunch of civic codes. Civic is another word for slave. So we start at Rome. Rome is the mother of all the harlots, the chief mother of all corporations. All corporations feed their royalties and tributes, taxes, rates, penalties, duties. Everything is taxed by Rome. Rome gets a piece of every commercial transaction on the planet, bar none. She gets a piece of everything because she sits on the top. This is why countries like Russia and China and Brazil and South Africa and India are trying so much to create a new system. It appears that they are creating their BRICS system to destroy the petrodollar. And many people believe that the Vatican and the Jesuits and the Rothschilds and London and the Zionists are working with these countries secretly to establish further control of the planet. I don't agree, although anything's possible. I believe that the time has come for justice and judgment against this system since Waterloo, since the Rothschilds bought up all the bonds and bought up all of England through Waterloo and Napoleon and Wellington. Since then, we have had one family governing this world. And the Niles Weekly Register of 1848 said that. Not me. This is 160 years ago. The Niles Weekly Register in 1848 said, "The Rothschilds govern a Christian world." That's just one of the things that was said in the Niles Weekly Register of 1848. They govern a Christian world. How do they do that? Well, I'm going to expose the other churches now, not just the Vatican. They, together with all the elite families of this planet, dear friends, please take heed and share this with all your church-going relatives. Please understand this foremostly. Since the days of the corruption of Egypt and Babylon and Medo-Persia, I'll leave it at that. Just those three empires are enough. You can throw in probably Greece and Assyria, but we know that Babylon has reared its head a couple of times. There was an old Babylonian empire, then a more recent one. We know Egypt has gone through some dynasties, and definitely in the 18th dynasty there was a massive, massive change in Egypt, big change. Partly for the good, but mostly for the bad in hindsight. The 18th dynasty of Egypt. I hope I can get time to elaborate today on the 18th dynasty of Egypt, because that was where all the trouble began. So Rome, the elite families that come out of Medo-Persia, Babylon and Egypt, all along the Mediterranean basin, the elite money families that have always been there, they've always had the money, they've always had the power and the control, made sure that Rome would be the inheritor of the legacy of these empires. For both good and evil, folks. Don't just judge everything as bad. Rome did not just absorb Babylonian control mechanisms just for evil. Sure, there may have been some families, some elite families of the aristocracy of Rome that did have that intention. There's no doubt about that. You can tell, you can see, if you've studied your history, you can see that some entities have definitely done this. And there have always been good individuals and entities that have always wanted to implement good things for mankind. So it's not all evil. Okay, the big mistake you will make is if you judge everything to be evil. Now, I've seen a lot of people doing that to their own detriment. They turn their back on everything that is both good and evil and just call it evil. And this is a big, big mistake. This is immaturity. It's a sign of not enough research, study, understanding. Understanding is crucial. What the elites have always done is they have created their religions. And some of them were created from the mystery schools. They've just taken the mystery schools over, infiltrated them, and turned them into state-run churches, you see. That's what Rome has been doing all the time. So we've been fooled. We've been thinking that all religion is evil and bad and set up for controlling us, whereas this is not true. This is not true. The infiltrators, the inverters, the inversive entities on this planet have done that, you see. And so you'll find that these families, like the Russell family, founders of the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Smith family, founders of the Mormons, Seventh-day Adventist Church of Latter-day Saints, you will find that behind every single corporate registered church, you'll find some rich families that can trace their bloodlines back to Medo-Persia, Babylon, Egypt, Rome, and Greece. I'm going to throw Greece in here because I believe that Greece was one of the least negatively influential empire that was. I may be wrong because I wasn't there to witness it firsthand. The Jews will certainly tell you that the Greeks did a lot of damage, you know, in the Maccabean period, and they'll tell you that that was a horrific time of persecution when the Greeks took over the Mediterranean before the Romans. Well, the Greek Empire slowly disintegrated. And you see, the Jews don't talk about the Greek captivity. They talk about being captive in Egypt. And the children of Israel came out of Egypt and they were enslaved for 420 years in Egypt. If you look at it literally, it's not literal, it's literary. It's not historical, folks. It's not historical. And yet these stories do have historical counterparts. But first and foremostly, they are written in the skies, in the ecliptic, in the heavens. Israel is the ecliptic. It's the 12 signs of the zodiac. It's the 12 everything that we know. And so they also were captive in Babylon. Yes, rivers, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, there we sang to our Lord Jehovah. And they were there for 70 years. Of course, they came out in 537 BCE. If you want to go historical, go down the historical paradigm. I'm easy. I can do that. I can interpret the Bible in every single way, astrotheologically, historically, literally, literarily, anagogically, allegorically, mystically, spiritually, psychically. The Bible has everything. All levels of interpretation are there. The highest, of course, is the literary, anagogic, mystical/mystical. And that's where you guys are. You guys are able to feed at that table, the highest table, through syncretism. And so the elites have always been there funding these churches and telling their adherents that their church is the only true church. You see, Baptists are 100% convinced that they will go to heaven through the Baptist church. Rest assured, this is part of the matrix. I will readdress the churches in a minute, and I won't be kind to the churches and religions. But I need to get through all of the organisations that are causing you and I harm as a man and a woman. Rome has learnt how to create artificial systems. That's all she has done. Go back to Tacitus and he will tell you. Rome creates a desert and calls it peace. Powerful enemies give her excitement and incitement to go and destroy them. Weak enemies give her desire to go and conquer them. But everywhere Rome goes, she destroys and plunders and calls it paradise. Yeah. That's what Tacitus said 2,000 years ago about Rome. Rome creates artificial systems, and to lure us out of de jure systems and make us follow those artificial systems. That's what Rome does. And in particular, the person. Rome has created the civic person, the citizen, the slave, who has all of his rights diminished through the name that they own, the legal name, together with the surname. You see, the surety name. And Rome owns this through the baptism of the birth certificate. The birth certificate is simply just a certificate, a warehouse docket, saying that an organisation was created. This is why you have a date of birth as opposed to a birthday. You see, Rome's little foot soldiers, they don't ask you for your birthday. They ask you for your date of birth, because thereafter they only have jurisdiction of the person. The person is a corporation registered through the birth certificate, through the registries, through the banks, through the bond market, etc. And they need that to do commerce, because the whole world is being placed in debt by the central banks controlled and owned by the Rothschilds and the Vatican. The Rothschilds have been managing Vatican treasures since 1823, and they never have lost control of Vatican riches since 1823. And the money that they control is all debt money. It's not credit money, it's debt money, dear friends. It's the usury system. They run it and they force us to use it. They intimidate us to using that system and paying with that system. Now, we already have a way of paying, dear friends. By virtue of the fact that you are born into a nation, you already have a special fund account. You don't need to use the trust fund account on the public side. The trust fund account is the Sestwi KV trust system, which is for persons, for commerce, for commercial commerce, owned and controlled by the state, the Vatican. It is all debt usury, and it's based on IOUs. It's not real money. Now, when you participate in this fiction, this kind of money, you are committing fraud. You are a fraudster because you are perpetrating national debt, military-industrial complex, and perpetual wars. We are supposed to be using our special fund account to set off and discharge our debts. Set off, discharge our debts. And you can even order settlement of your debts and closure, settlement and closure. And when you order closure, then you shut down the trust fund account on the public side. Full closure of that public trust account means you will no longer have a commercial person to do commercial transactions, but you will always have unlimited drawing rights, and you can set off and discharge all of your debts. And this is the national system that we have, dear friends. We do have by virtue of, let's call it God's law for some people, that will help people understand. Let's call it divine law, natural law, universal law, absolute law. Absolute law requires that the nation you are born under looks after you in every way, because you are a small nation, indigenously, naturally, natively born inside of that nation. This is what a nation is, dear friends. It's not a country. Vatican owns countries. We own nations. We are nationals of our nations. I am a national of this land, so-called Australia. I am indigenous. The elements of this land are in my body. I am indigenous to this land. I stand on the land. I am a living man. I belong to the jurisdiction of living. You don't need to say in court that you are a live man. It would be better to say that you are living in the present. Living. I am living. The living jurisdiction, only you and God belong in that jurisdiction. Court officials, any kind of official, servant, public servant, any kind of employed entity, person by the government, they do not belong in the living jurisdiction. They can only deal in the jurisdiction of decedents. That's why on their paperwork they will only have the name of the corporate decedent which they control. You see, so the name Santos Bonacci, for instance, that is a given name and a surety/surname put together. This creates a trust fund account. This is the artificial fund which you are led to believe is the only one that exists. Most people do not know that their nation has already provided them with a treasury and treasure, and that treasury is lawfully the only place where we can get our money. This is our national money. No interest. It's just for exchanging energy. It's a means of value of exchange. But what happened was, at some time in the history of all of our nations, treasuries were shut down. In Australia, the treasuries do not print money. I believe one treasury does. It does. I may be wrong, but I believe that the treasuries must continue. There must be a federal treasury in every nation that must continue to print, I believe, somewhere around 10% of the nation's money. They cannot take that real money out of circulation, I believe. This is the case in the United States of America Republic. In the United States, DC, since 1871, government founded as a for-profit corporation in the District of Columbia. In that district, they borrow money from the central bank called the Federal Reserve Bank. This is not the people's money. It is owned by 6 or 7 elite families, and they control that system with the Vatican. Since 1871, America's republic has been turned into a democracy, a government for profit, and it is a business. The president of that corporation, called United States, Barack Obama, is the head of one of the biggest corporations on the planet, called United States, doing business. Registered on the Securities Stock Exchange Commission, of course. They're all registered. So are the Jehovah's Witnesses, so are the Baptists and the Mormons. They're all registered. Regis is the king. You see, when you're born, you get a record. Your name is recorded in the book of the living. This is called the live-born record. This comes before the BC, the birth certificate. The birth certificate is the church component of the state. You see, church and state are married at the hip. They are the one same thing, you see, church and state. And that is on the artificial side of the Vatican. This is what was said in 1913 by Lewis McFadden, congressional representative. He said, there are 2 governments, the one duly constituted compact and the other interlocked with international powers. The duly constituted compact still exists, but you have unknowingly exiled out. Okay, I'm going to repeat that because this is way too important. This is Lewis McFadden, congressional representative. And he was persecuted, this man, I know that, for trying to help America. Because in 1913, when Wilson, on the 23rd of December, enacted the Federal Reserve Act, Lewis McFadden, he knew what was going on. Because he saw what happened 40 or 50 years ago with Abraham Lincoln and the Vatican returning to the lands of America to re-establish her dominion over those lands. The Vatican does not let go of any land, as Rome has always annexed countries and not let any of them go. She can't afford to. How could she plunder the world through her papal bulls if she didn't do so? When you act through the person, you are a slave of Rome, you are a commercial instrument, you have no rights, you are in the jurisdiction of the dead. This is why they send a summons to summons the dead. You see, they don't send subpoenas. Oh, well, they do, but subpoenas are lawful instruments that people from nations can use to get living men and women into court to be judged by their peers. A summons is only for the dead. You can only summons the dead. And so when you go to court and you offer to be that person because you think you are that person, you are committing fraud, because you are joining your given name to a surety name. And that surety name, the style of the registration of that name, the surname will be in all caps, if not the entire name. It matters not. If one component is, and usually it's the surname, in all caps letters, that is owned by, that is a special style of name. That is the style of name of a Roman citizen, a slave. This is a slave. It is not the name of a free man. A free man gives himself his own name. He is the owner of his own name. Dear friends, when you use someone else's copyrighted property, the legal implications are profound. When you use someone else's intellectual property, and that is the all caps name. And so you must make it very, very clear and crystal clear, with no ambiguities, that you are a divine being and that you make no claim to owning anything, really. The moment you make a claim to owning something, then you could be required to prove that claim. And if you make no claims, you could not be held account. And dear friends, this is how the control system works. I felt it very appropriate to discuss this today rather than astrotheology and syncretism, because this needs to be addressed as we go forward into the new age with new paradigms and new ways of doing things. We clearly are going through changes, massive changes on this planet. And intuitively we know that good will come from it. We get excited. We know that just around the corner there will be good, paradise. Everyone's talking about the return of something, paradise. The Lord is coming. God's rest is coming, some churches will tell you. Some say that the Messiah is near. Some say that paradise is around the corner. The new way is upon us. But when we look around, we see that there still seems to be a lot of entities that don't want to share in this. They would rather hang on to what they had, what they know, what they are comfortable with. And who are these entities? Well, all registered entities, people. Please beware. Please be very, very careful. All of these organizations, Freemasons, churches, charity organizations, NGOs, non-governmental organizations, all claiming to do this and that and good for the planet. Be careful of registered organizations, dear friends. Be very, very suspect of organizations like Red Shield, Red Cross, the Lions Club, the Apex Club, the Rotary Club, the Knights of Columbus, Teutonic Knights, Club of Rome, Trilateral Commission, CFR, RAAR, the Zionists, the Bilderbergers, Common Purpose. Have a look at those Common Purpose. Have a look at those organizations, child care, you know, all of this protective services and blah, blah, blah. They don't protect, they don't serve, they only steal your money. Only. All of these organizations are despicable organizations set up for profit. And believe you me, they profit. Bob Geldof made millions and millions of dollars for the Windsors when he did his Live Aid in 1985. Do you think any of that is Africa any better off because of his egotistical megalomaniac stage performances and antics? Do you think U2 and all of these corporate churches, Madonna and all of these, corporate bands, do you think that they are grassroots and that they have real talent and that they just are where they are through sheer talent and good music? They may have good music, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, well, they do, otherwise they wouldn't have a chance at all. But rest assured, all of these guys, they do not, all of the ones that have mega, mega success, they all come from military or elite families. All of them. 90% of all of the Hollywood stars and all of the rock stars that have ever made it big, 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 they are all from these elite families. Cliff Richard, Mick Jagger, that's why they've got their knighthoods. Sir Richards, Cliff Richards, Sir Mick Jagger, Sir Paul McCartney. There are exceptions. There are bands like from England, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Black Sabbath had nothing to do with what the Beatles and the Rolling Stones did, which was Tavistock and mind control organizations. This is why John Lennon was killed, because he saw this. He exposed it. He saw that the world is run by insane people for insane ends, and you get to look insane for saying it. But rest assured, bands like the Beatles were put there. They were experiments by Tavistock. MI5, MI6, MK Ultra, Majestic 12, Mossad, ASIC, the Australian branch. All of these organisations are there to steal and hurt. Steal from you and hurt you. So long as you are being hurt by these corporations and entities, the ones who control them are satisfied. One of the worst organisations that still exists on this planet is the BAR, Bank Accredited Registry, or British Accredited Registry, or Bank Authorised Representative. Take your pick. I've heard many, many versions of this BAR. Bar. They are barbarians, all right, the BAR. They are barbaric. Bar backwards is Rab. Rabbi is sons of Ra. Rabbanim, the children of Ra. These are the inversive children of Ra. The scribe notaries, they make indulgences, dear friends. In the fictional world, they go around having court cases. They have court cases without live men in them, just dead entities in there. You know, like a magistrate, prosecutor, prostituter, solicitor, prostitute, liar, attorney, turner over of souls. They are all there, they are all blasphemous, they are all fraudulent, they are all committing fraud, personage, barratry, and fraudulent joinder. They're criminals. Lawyers, solicitors, they are criminals, dear friends. Please remember this. I'm saying this specifically because in my case, I have been persecuted now for over a year by the BAR. You see, I'm very harmful to the BAR because they love their bonds, their bid bonds, performance bonds, payment bonds, prison bonds. These particular prostitutes who are nothing but pimps, pedophiles and parasites and prostituters, they love their prison bonds. They love to put 18-year-old boys and girls who have smoked a joint and been caught for smoking God's Kana bosom, 5 times mentioned in the Bible as God's favourite plant. God's favourite incense is called Kana. 5 times in the Bible it says this. And kids, there are hundreds and thousands of kids in jails around the world through that bonded, securitized name, the legal name on their birth certificate. They're sitting in jail doing time because of that plant that God loves so much. This is the BAR, dear friends. The BAR must be put behind bars. Just as the Pope needs to go to prison and the Vatican needs to be vanquished. Vatican vanquished, Pope prison, BAR behind bars. That is how to fix the world. I know how to fix the world, folks, as you do. It's quite easy. You can ask a little child. Out of the mouths of babes is the secret to how to fix this world. It's funny how the Club of Rome and the Bilderbergers and all of these think tanks have got no freaking idea. And everything they do, every decision they make is for the worst. It's always detrimental to mankind. Always. And it's always favourable to their corporations. Their stinking, evil corporations. Theodore Roosevelt said, "Behind the ostensible government sits enthroned an invisible government owing no allegiance and acknowledging no responsibility to the people." Behind the, again, I'll repeat that, and I will go back and repeat Lewis McFadden's quote, because I said I would and I forgot. Theodore Roosevelt, 26th President of the United States, warned his citizens of the power of the plutocracy they were dealing with by stating, plutocracy, guys, behind the ostensible government sits enthroned. Yeah, registration, the king on his throne, an invisible government owing no allegiance and acknowledging no responsibility to the people. 50 men have run America, and that's a high figure. Joseph Kennedy said that on the 26th of July, on the 26th of July, that's Joseph Kennedy, the father of JFK. 50 men have run America, and that's a high figure. That's in New York Times, 1936. Lewis McFadden, again, there are two governments. Please listen to these words that follow. The one, a duly constituted compact. So it's been duly constituted, it has a constitution, it's duly been worked over by the people, for the people, and it's a compact, and it's there, it's still there. The other government is interlocked with international powers. The duly constituted compact still exists, but you have unknowingly exiled out. So what has happened is this, dear friends, it's pretty simple. They have created a legal system, artificial, to pull us away from the lawful, absolute law of the universe. Here is the definition of legal, according to the 1893 Dictionary of Arts and Sciences and General Literature, the R.S. Peale 9th Encyclopedia Britannica. 5 words for legal. It says, the undoing of God's law. The undoing of God's law. The bar only have legal jurisdiction, dear friends. They do not have any lawful jurisdiction, none of them. And yet they are putting our children away in prison. They are collecting money on bonds. I know some of my friends are in prison, and I know that the judges that put them in there are making money from the bonds, the prison bonds. They love their prison bonds. I think they get more return from prison bonds than any other bonds. All they're doing is dealing in bonds. That's all they're doing. They've got your birth certificate name and they're hanging on to it and they're charging it over and over again. Dear friends, this is what's going on. The most evil thing that is going on is that parasitic, invisible entities are harvesting your energy through your birth certificate bond, through that name. That surety name is causing you all the harm and all the distress that you've ever suffered. Those weekends when you didn't have any money to buy any food and you're waiting for Monday for the paycheck to clear. That suffering that you went for when you had to go next door and knock for a bit of bread, a bit of milk or something or whatever for your children. That time when you got kicked out of your house because you couldn't pay last week's rent. And your neighbour and your landlord got fed up. The struggles of some parents with their children in prison and they don't know why, because they haven't committed a crime, they haven't injured or harmed or hurt another man, living man or woman, and yet they're in prison. I do believe that we won't be speaking these subjects for much longer, dear friends. I do believe that we are ready for a change. We definitely are ready. It's not a belief. But I do believe, on the other hand, not know, that paradise is here. I do believe that. And it's there for the taking. It's just that we can't see it and we don't know how. And it's simple. Either you are a legal person or you are a living man or woman. Make your choice. Get out of her, my people, if you do not want to share with her in her sins, before it's too late. Don't be one of these buying and selling, eating and drinking, marrying, building houses type that the flood comes and sweeps you all away. You see, we've all been entombed and trapped by this system. We are all slaves of this system, and most of it has been our own undoing. Don't go looking to the heavens and, blaming archons and cosmocrators and we've been jailed and the moon has a net around her and we can't go past the moon and we can't go past the solar system and we've got all these restrictions. Don't go buying into these limitations. It's limited thought. Again, it's always entities trying to control your mind and limit your mind. Lose all the controls and be what you were born to be. You were born, you are a seed of something great, and that greatness is inside of you. It's not outside, don't go looking. It's not at the top of the corporate ladder. It's not in one of the SUVs of the Joneses down the road. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses. And even if you get to drive their SUV, trust me, Mr. Jones one day will be driving his brand new SUV down the freeway and some truck will crash into his car and kill him anyway. They're not immune from death just because they've got 6 SUVs and just because they are the CEO of their corporation and you're just one of the, sweepers of the floor. Don't pay attention to that, dear friends. We are all source consciousness, returning to source consciousness. We are connected to God. We are God by virtue of that. These electrical bodies that we have, they are just vehicles, temporary vehicles, and they will serve us. They will serve us until they get old and decompose, and then our spirit just moves on and our soul with all the experiences acquired. So please stay in the correct jurisdiction, dear friends. When you were a child, you were sent to kindergarten by your loving parents. They sent you to a kinder garden. And when you went there, you were 5 or 6 or whatever. And they had rules at kindergarten. You see, you can't poke the other kids in the eye. You can't steal their pens and pencils. You can't say no to the teacher. I don't want to do that. You can't be rude. And there's all these rules. So you're in kindergarten jurisdiction. And see, if little kindergarten Johnny starts poking the other kids in the eyes, guess what happens? He breaks the rules. He gets kicked out. Got to find another kindergarten. Then when you grow up and you leave school and you leave the jurisdiction of grade 1, grade 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, year 1, year 2, all of the tertiary, secondary, all that education, and you go off to work and you work at McDonald's selling hamburgers. Now you've got new rules. The manager there says, no, you've got to put a net over your head. And you can't be picking your nose when you're making hamburgers. And when you sneeze, you turn around and you sneeze into a tissue. And when you go to the toilet, you wash your hands and come back nice and clean. And you be polite to McDonald's customers because we want them to come back. So now you're under the jurisdiction of Joe Bloggs, the manager of your local McDonald's. And if he should catch you picking your nose and you're making a hamburger, guess what happens? You break the rules. You're out of there. Goodbye, because they have jurisdiction. Question is, dear friends, do we want to go back to kindergarten jurisdiction? Do we want to go back to McDonald's jurisdiction? Do we want to have contracts with these evil controlling mechanisms? With legal Do you want to go down the legal road and undo God's law? Do you really, really need what this world has to offer? Glory, power, fame, riches, cars. Oh, cars. Oh, that's it. Just cars alone will do it for me. I'm gonna turn my back on heaven and paradise and any spiritual otherworldly rewards. I want a Mercedes Benz and I want to look good. Doesn't matter if I've got arthritis, piles, diabetes, asthma, heart disease, mucus, diarrhea, and everything that all these rich people have. But hey, they're still driving in that Rolls. They still look good in that Ferrari. And those Armani suits, man, they look really, really good. I think it must be worthwhile turning your heart and your mind away from any future heavenly treasures just for cars. Cars are so good these days. They've got computers and climate control and remote control and cruise control. Oh my God, you can do so much now with these cars. You see the vanity? Doesn't matter if you've got a 3-story house, a castle in the hills. Doesn't matter if you think you own the hill and the creek and the trees on the property. Doesn't matter what you think. You own nothing. Not even your bodies, really. Because the elements own your bodies. You watch what happens in 90 years' time to your body. And you tell me who it is in 100 years' time that's going to take your body away from you. Yeah, the elements. The sun, the rain, the atmosphere, the earth. Are they your friends or are they your enemy because they destroy your body and dissolve it? They are both. They keep your body composed. The sun is responsible for keeping your body molecularly composed so it doesn't fall apart. And it's also responsible for destroying your body and making sure that it corrodes, oxidizes, ages, dehydrates, and you die. That's what the sun's doing right now, keeping you alive and killing you at the same time. The elements. So go around claiming your body. Go around claiming your house and your car and your intellectual property. Oh, that's my property. I made that video. You can't copy that video. It's my material. People want to own everything, you see. Well, your property is what you make use of and it's in your possession. That's the law. So you can call your body your property, of course. But please do not think that you can own molecules. Everything is molecular, vibrating atoms. All is atom. And what are you trying to do? Trying to steal a little piece of atom? Whereas it all belongs to atom? This is the trick they've played, dear friends. If you claim ownership of something, well, they're going to hold you to account. If you say you are that name, well, they're going to hold you into account. There is the matrix, dear friends. Which brings me to the point about my name. Today I'm going to make a statement to the universe and to the world that I will be known as Santos only from now on. And I will correct anyone who continues to know me as Santos Bonacci on the spot. And I will do that until such a time as we are free from surety and all of these legalese. And so my name I give to myself. It is Santos. And I've been calling myself Santos since the year 2000. Before that, I had 2 legal names, Santo Bonacci and Sam Bonacci. And I've had bank accounts, licenses, and all sorts of things in those 2 names. And when I signed those contracts and got a car license and signed up to, to vote because I thought I might be able to, do the right thing, Not that I've ever voted, I've never voted, but I thought, well, I'll register, just used to do the right thing because the local member wants me to register, and the local state government and all those things we register for. Every time, marriage certificate, you see, I have a marriage certificate, don't I? I have a wife. So the government and the Vatican may claim to own me through that legal name in the marriage certificate. Dear friends, do not claim to own any of those things, and you will be free. Make no claim to names, make no claims to ownership, especially of intellectual property. They will get you. This is the matrix. It has been designed this way. It has been designed by both good and evil elite families of the past. Remember, you are a part of those families. Don't hate them. Do not hate them. Don't have any hate. Well, I mean, you can experience hate. There's nothing wrong with experiencing hate, anger, and letting it pass through you. But at the same time, dealing with it. Sometimes remorse comes. We have to go through remorse. Sometimes we do have to be angry at injustices. Sometimes we do have to hate what is bad. But I'm talking about chronic hate. I'm talking about lasting, deep, systemic hate. You see some people, you can see in their eyes that they just carry a lot of hate. You can't live long with those emotions. You can't. Disease will overtake you. You will die young. These ones die in their 30s of heart attack. They don't live long. They can't, because hate is very, very destructive to the organism. And so Santos, that's my given name. I gave it to me, and I am the owner of it. He who creates owns. He who creates owns. Because you see, the state creates that stylized name. Always, if you ever go to court, if you're ever dragged into court, first thing you should ask is, who are you looking for? Is it the name on your papers? And if they say yes, which they will because they have to, they are looking for the name on their papers. They control that name. That person is controlled by them. That's why they are actors. They are acting as judge. They are acting as prosecutor. They are acting in court. Because so are you. You'll be acting, if they can get you, as the person who's going to be, guess what? The trustee. So you can ask, what's the style of the name on your papers? Let me see who you're looking for. And when they show you the style will definitely be a Vatican corporate-owned, copyrighted name which you do not own. And it will have all caps in it. And when you see that, you can say, this is a decedent. I am living. I only recognize the living. I only recognize the living. It is unlawful to have dealings with the dead. In every culture, these are false idols. So what they get you to do, and I will conclude with this thought, dear friends, is in court they try to make you the trust fund account trustee rather than the special fund account beneficiary. You see? So in court they want to steal that from you. They want to be the beneficiary. So you have to claim to be that name. The moment you do and commit fraud, you will be the payer. You will have to pay. Not them, because they already hold the liability. They already have created the liability and the debt. They are masters of the debt system. They created the whole thing. And they already hold the liability. And it's their duty to discharge those debts honourably, but they don't, because they want to make a cut out of their bonds. This is usury, this is prostitution, this is pimping, this is parasiting, this is a psychopathic system, dear friends. Psychopaths are harvesting your energy, first and foremostly through the legal system, then through the spiritual system, through demonic parasitic entities, thought forms, egregores that they have created. They have created demons, many demons, and thought forms that will attack you and hurt you and keep you fearful in their system. Have no fear, dear friends. Have no fear. You are the shining lights of truth, and you will conquer all of this evil. Remember, the Lord of literary truth says, have no fear. I have conquered the world, and so will you. Do not fear. I have conquered the world, and so will you. This is Jesus Christ, the Son in the heavens on the ecliptic, speaking. He is the conqueror of the world because he knows how to return his light from the darkness of night to daylight, from the coldness of winter to hot summer. He is the conqueror, Sol Invictus, the unconquerable Son. And he teaches, have no fear, for I have conquered the world. Do not marvel at this, because the hour is coming in which all those who are in the memorial tombs will hear his voice and come on out. The tombs, that's what it's talking about, dear friends, the matrix. The tomb that we're in, we've been put asleep. We are entombed. This is why in the Gospel of John, Jesus says, have no fear, do not marvel at these. He was doing miracles and curing. He says, do not marvel at this. The hour is coming in which all of those in the memorial tombs will hear his voice and come on out. Let's awaken, get out of these tombs, and hear the voice of the Saviour. The voice of the Saviour will be in your head. Don't go to church, don't go to books, don't go necessarily to gurus. Nothing wrong with having gurus. You know, you can have teachers. I wouldn't know how to do many of the things that I do if I didn't go to gurus. When I was learning to play the guitar, I had to go to gurus, guitar gurus, and they helped me to play better every time I went. I've been to spiritual gurus. I had a guru down in Melbourne who was Greek, and he was doing Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine, acupuncture, hatha yoga, yoga nidra, and I did 6 years of that. Learned how to breathe, learned about yoga. But if I did not go to that guru, I may have learnt wrong things. But the point is, the Saviour will come to you and you will hear his voice and you will come out of the tombs. The dead shall rise. And they will rise, and they have risen. All right, friends, that's about it for today. The reason I chose this subject was because we have passed through some very, very powerful astrological alignments, and I dearly, dearly desired to speak about the Easter that we're going through right now. It's the 5th of April, and many people have just seen the blood moon. It's Easter Monday here in Australia. For most of you, it's still Easter Sunday. And I did want to do a sacred Easter presentation, but I'll leave it till next week. The reason I wanted to get this out is because I wanted all my good friends and most of the folk on this show who know me to know that if you're going to post anything on Facebook about me or use the name Santos, please just don't use Bonacci. There won't be any confusion. There are no other syncretists on the planet called Santos, as far as I know, and should there be one day, no problem. Santos 1, Santos 2, Santos 3, Santos 4. No need to remind people about the surety name. Now, if you're going to consider your surname as a family name, well and good, because then you are honouring your ancestors. And I would love to honour my ancestors. There's been some good Bonaccis in history. Fibonacci, Leonardo Bonacci, son of Leonardo Bonacci, called Fibonacci, son, figlio di Bonacci, means Fibonacci. But his true name was Leonardo Bonacci, 800 years ago, man who introduced the Arabic number system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., to the world, and disposing of Roman numerals. So that was a Bonacci. He also did a lot of work on the golden section, the golden mean, the golden ratio, and the Fibonacci series of numbers, which is similar to the golden section numbers. So I would like to honour them. I also have other ancestors. Where I come from in Calabria, some of the names of my ancestors are Pascuzzi, Cardamone. These are the ones I would like to honour. But the point is, I do not want to share in surnames and last names. These are civil names, dear friends, that we need have nothing to do with. Okay? So honour your ancestors through your family name, but do not honour the artificial system through your surname, surety name, the legal name. All right, that's about it. We can go over to questions.
From Luis, from Brazil. He's asking you, Santos, does the fire and water people can be related and identify with the astrological signs? You were talking about the fire and water people earlier.
No, not really. No, there's always been two kinds of humanity, really. You know, and they're not one is good and one is bad. It's just that there's two kinds. There's a kind that is always ambitious and never ever settled. They're never happy. They're never content, and that is a kind. It's got to do with the element of fire. Manly P. Hall talks about this in his little brochure on the fire of Melchizedek. You might want to grab that brochure. It's only $8 at Amazon, and you can learn about this. He mentions it just briefly, but there are other writers who deal with these two kinds, and you know, and basically they come from this literary characters Cain and Abel. You know, Cain is the fire, Abel is the water, really, and I point that back to the proton and the electron. Abel is the electron, and Cain is the proton. You know, and I can further prove that. I can give other reasons why it goes back to the proton and the electron. But the proton is burning, fiery, and the electron is watery. Really, it's negative in the so-called atom. It's the proton that generates all the fire and the positivity. The electron is negative. And this negativity flows on to human beings in the sense that they're just satisfied and content. Now, you would think, hang on, that's not negative. That's good. We are required to go within and to be rather than to do. You see? But again, these verbs being and doing correspond with this perfectly. It's about fire and water. You see? Fire is doing, really. It's burning and creating anew, because fire is the universal purger, you see, whereas water is the universal solvent. You can clean your car with water, but you can't clean it with fire. But you can transform your car, because your car can be completely burned up and transformed into ash with fire. And so, no, these two kinds of people, they are totally and utterly separate from the four signs of astrology, really, and not to be included. This is basically a lifetime condition of individuals. They will always either be, of the fire child or water child. And so knowing this, we can actually, moderate this. If you know that you're one of these people who are never content, I would say that I'm a fire, because, I just, it's very, very hard for me to settle and relax and do nothing and just be. I'm learning this. I'm spending all my waking hours, perfecting this skill of meditation and silence and stillness, to be able to either add water to my fire or fire to my water. It's all about balancing, guys. It's no use, polarizing yourself to one of these types of people and being either a fire or a water. It's no use. We need to blend that and bring it in the middle. Okay? Can be very harmful if we do.
Okay, thank you, Santos. The next question is from Clarence Tatman. What are your thoughts on Eta Carina?
Why does that ring a bell? I'm not sure what it is. Can you please, Eta Carina?
Yes.
How's the spelling of that, please?
The name is E-T-A for Eta or Eta. Carina is C-A-R-I-N-A. Okay.
Yeah, look, I would have to first, research that. So we can pass to another question.
Okay. The following one is from Joseph. He said he already answered, but he's asking, why are we still participating? And I guess he meant the system when you were talking about, explaining about the system, how it works.
Well, it's like anything really. Addictions, education. We still are, addicted to some of the services, and we're still locked in through thousands of years of railroading us and steering us into their control system. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. It's a bit like, anything. How you might be addicted to smoking for 20 years, and then you give up, right? So 2 months down the track, someone offers you a cigarette and back you are. You might have had a girlfriend for 10 years. You break up, and then after 6 months you see each other again, you're back together, then you have a fight, then you break up again, 3 months go by, then you get back together. Have you ever been in situations like this, on and off, in and out? And I know I've been trying since 2007, since I awoke. I have been trying to get out of the system, and slowly and surely I am doing it. Probably I would say I've been a little bit slow. I'm not a fast learner. I'm a very slow learner, and I would say, compared to other people who are making leaps and bounds and getting right out of the system, I'm a bit slow. But then again, I am walking most of my talk. I'm 90% on it. You can rest assured that whatever comes out of my mouth, if you were a fly on the wall, you would see me, you would observe me at 90% at least potential. For instance, I'm living at the moment off the grid. No electricity bills, solar panels. I eat only organic food. I eat mostly raw food. And I do all of the things that I speak about. I meditate. I, look after the land. We are involved in fermenting foods, sprouting foods, fasting. We do everything that we talk, everything. Both me and my wife, we are just right on this, right on it, and we are almost out of the system. It's taken years and years. But I would recommend that you put in a seed in your heart, and that is to go out into the country, find a piece of land, and get to know that land, and acquire new skills and learn how to do things. We've got a manual washing machine. It's this little drum sort of a thing with a handle, and you fill it up with hot water and clothes and detergent, and you turn that handle yourself. And what happens is, after 2 minutes, it just removes all the dirt, washes the clothes. No electricity. We are all of these things. So I'm getting there, and we all are. But plant the seed in your heart to remove yourself from this non-sustainable, artificial, and very, very corrupt and dirty system.
Right, Santos, because some clarification about Ita Karina, according to Clarence, the person who asked the question, Bill Donahue is the one who has referred to it. Apparently it is the 7th letter in the Greek alphabet.
Yep, Ita, for sure.
Okay. So what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah. Okay, I've got it now. Yeah, I've seen Bill Donahue talk about that. Carina is a nebulae or something, and I think he was talking about some discovery they made there, and it has to do with prophecy. I really can't comment. I just know that, Eta, of course, is the Greek letter of the word. So you'll see in astronomy they have alpha, beta, zeta, eta for naming their stars. And usually the alpha star of any constellation is the brightest. Okay, so for instance, down in the southern skies here we have Centaurus, one of the biggest constellations in the heavens. And the brightest star is called Alpha Centaurus. So in Draconis, Alpha Draconis will be the brightest star. So Eta must mean that it's the 7th brightest star of the constellation of Carina, and which is in, Carina is in Shikes. I think it's in Virgo, Leo Virgo. Anyway, so one of the deacons there. And so I don't know, I forget what Bill Donahue mentioned. Maybe there's some kind of an event that is going to be related to prophecy and that particular constellation. So maybe the guy who is asking the question, maybe he can put that video in the chat room. I'll have a look at it, and others who are interested may also have a look at it and learn about it.
Thank you, Santos. We have a caller waiting. Hello.
Hello, Santos, dear brother. Thank you so much. I just want to, thank you, Santos. And you're talking about the fire and water. And for me, fire is like the power, the life force, and water is what flows that life force. But it really is about balance and bringing in all the elements and balancing and going out into nature and meditation and just connecting in that natural DMT experience with Gaia and with all the animals will bring you to that place of power, rising above this system. It's not so hard, is it, Santos? It really isn't. The system wants us to think it's really hard. And that fear, putting that fear in if we do unplug. And it sounds like to me, Santos, that you've unplugged and you're finding that freedom that's so natural. It is just of our nature to be in this place of that free from all of this. And it is about the getting our health in the most vibrant condition we can, and that's about learning about the foods, getting away from any kind of consumption of animals, and really living on this planet as we were meant to be. We are not slaves. I am not a slave. My name is Colleen, and it was gifted to me by my beloved mother. And that's what I will claim in this life. And, yeah, we are not slaves. And so it's not so hard. You have to unplug. You have to get away from all this consuming. We don't need the cars. We don't need the addition to our homes. In fact, get rid of the homes and get out more in nature, in the permaculture and sustainability, and share that with one another. Grow our own food. It's not hard. Start with pots in your backyard. Grow basil and tomatoes, cucumbers. You'll be amazed how it grows. It wants to grow for us. Nature is here for us because we are nature.
Hallelujah, Colleen. Hallelujah. And you mentioned one of my favorite. Yeah, you mentioned one of my favorite words, permaculture. You see, once upon a time, we used to go around. Everything was permaculture. The earth was covered in plants, food-growing plants, and we were foragers. You won't learn this in the history books. They tell you that we're a bunch of savage, hunters and collectors, and the more you collect and hunt, the more you can store away. So let's now forget about foraging and just eating a few berries in your backyard. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of all those trees, and we're just going to have big, massive farms, and we're going to have hybrid grains like wheat, and then we're going to make white bread and starchy crap for all the slaves to eat to dumb them down, and they won't be going to their backyards to pluck that nice berry off to get true vitamins, vitality. They will have to eat food that is processed and it's been stored and frozen and transported and butchered and added to and processed again, and more poo in it, a little bit of aspartame, a little bit more shit, another bit of shit, a bit more poo, add that to it, cook it again, cook it a third time, process it a bit. And that's
No, Santos. What's going to happen is we're all going to rise above, and we're going to be growing our own. We're going to learn about the wild edibles everywhere in every one of our areas where we live all over this planet. And that energy will uplift their energy, and they will have no choice but to then rise above also. This is where we're going.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
For sure. And we at this level who at least are able to speak about these things, we should be exemplary. This is why I have found a place where I can only do permaculture. I've been doing that. I've been moving around from house to house for the last couple of years, as folks know, and everywhere I've gone, I've established permaculture gardens. And here we have a big 10 acres or whatever, and we are mulching and putting everything properly, doing everything properly so that it will be 100% sustainable, natural. So once we do this and be a model, everyone will follow, because it is the only way back to nature, guys.
It has to. Yes, it's the energy. It has to follow, doesn't it, Santos? You put that energy out there, it's going to be felt. It resonates out. We don't even have to care about where it goes or if it's connecting to somebody else. We do what we do, and it will have a positive effect out into the world. That's how energy works.
Absolutely. Yep. We are creators. So we create new energies, new thought forms, new paradigms, and as we are practicing them and doing them themselves, the vibration of it goes out from you, picks up energy along the way, and other people pick up on it. So when your thoughts are loving and kind, and you're practicing permaculture and meditating, those thoughts are going out of you. Where they end, you do not know. Don't send bad thoughts, because they will come back to haunt you. Take my example. You know, 2014, I had a hell of a year because I provoked all the problems that came my way. All of them.
Yes. Well, you do it, you put it out there with gratitude. That's the key. The gratitude for everything. The gratitude for Gaia. The gratitude for this incredible wild edibles everywhere. We can live on that. We can live on the dew in the water that we can collect in the morning. We are not slaves.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
This is the first...
Thank you, brother.
Yep.
I love you, Santos.
And Santos, I had to say this, you know, you mentioned last year, 2014, you know, as you said, take me as an example. But look, many of us saw through you. You know, we knew that was not the real Santos, you know, the tantrums and that you had, the fire that came out of you. There was another Santos there, and that's the one that we saw, that we stick to it, the true Santos. You know, a wonderful, wonderful human being, absolutely genuine, and desiring the best for humanity. And that is coming through.
It was just something that needed to be worked through and experienced and cleared, right, Santos? And here you are, stronger and more clarity than ever.
Yeah, and in particular, witnessed everything. And she also witnessed trouble I had in 2012 with a fellow who is now dead, David Simonton, and a few other guys in between.
I was there too, Santos. I was there too.
Word, yes.
Yes.
Good one. Yep.
For sure.
That's right. Yeah. And so that's back 2011. And look, I'm not offering any excuses for all of my bad behavior, which is very, very, very public. And I did that deliberately so because I was... Yeah.
Your favorite word at that time, the buffoon.
yeah, gotcha. True. That's so no excuses, but I have advanced forward, and one of the things that I attribute to the way I behaved and the mental state that I was in was that my body was polluted. I see. We have parasites in our body, we have stones in our livers and gallstones, etc. These two things are your greatest enemies. Parasites and worms. I had a tapeworm that would have been about 1.5 meters long. I don't know how long it was because I didn't know it was a tapeworm when I flushed it down the toilet. And this was after a fast, an Andreas Moritz fast. Now, please look this up. I posted this on Facebook about a month ago. One of the most effective fasts for eliminating parasites and stones, and that's by Andreas Moritz. Now, he's written books about this. He is now dead. They probably whacked him. Now, I did this fast in January and eliminated that tapeworm and who knows how many others. And I eliminated green stones by the hundreds. That's liver stones. So my liver, since I've been eating cooked food since I was a child, has been accumulating these green stones. So I was lethargic all the time because these parasites, they poo. When you see, I was taking MMS to clean them out and all sorts of anti-parasite stuff. And what happened, and doing enemas, coffee enemas, etc., they poo in your system and you're itching all night long. I remember once I itched for 10 nights straight and virtually had no sleep for 10 nights straight because of the parasites pooing. And I've had this itch for years and years now, especially in the last 6 or 7 years since I lost a lot of weight. And I'm recounting these things for the benefit of the listeners. Please understand, if your temple is putrid, you will practice putrid things. You will do many vile things. You will be offensive to the ones you love.
They actually direct you. They're directing you, aren't they, Santos, those parasites?
For sure, man. Those parasites are likened
Yes.
to demons, man. They
Oh,
their own.
yeah. And you had those in you when you were traveling around the country, around the world. Remember?
Yeah, I went to Ecuador.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to the UK, I went to Italy, I went to Ireland, and people were saying, Santos, along the way, all these beautiful people, and in particular Jackson from London, if he's listening, Jackson came to me at my London presentation, and he brought MMS for me, and he said, Santos, I'm really worried about you, man. You're pretty sickly looking, you're pretty skinny. And I remember I was eating like a horse. I was always hungry. And the tour providers, I did 14 presentations in England. They brought sprouted foods and organic food for me everywhere I went. I was eating like a horse, and I could not put any weight on. People everywhere were about me saying, "You look sickly and you are not well." And Jackson came to with his wife and children. He came, he introduced his beautiful wife and 3 children and he brought a whole bottle of MMS for me. He said, "Get on this because you need to. You're not well." And so
that was your saving grace.
Sorry.
That was your saving grace, the MMS.
Oh yeah, for sure. What I'm doing now is I'm doing a daily enemas, coffee enemas, and I put 30 drops of MMS in my coffee enemas, and this is also getting rid of parasites. So every day I've been having coffee enema. I do colon cleansers, mostly raw food, juicing in the morning. I've got a cold press juicer. I only eat activated seeds, so they're sprouted. I do not eat seeds and nuts that are not activated. And it's doing wonders, and I'm getting better. I've got ways to go, but I've done 2 of the Andrea Moritz fasts, and I've gotten rid of a lot of stones, folks. I've got more energy now, and I feel cleaner. My consciousness is shifting even more, and I only recommend to do it. Get your temple right, please.
Yes, that's really number 1, isn't it, Santos?
Number 1.
You've got to have vibrant health. To be going through this, you gotta be operating at the most optimum level.
Yep, for sure. And the body is the temple of soul of man, Solomon, builded by the chief architect, who was obviously not historical, Hiram Abiff. Now, Hiram is the high ram that sits in the top of your head, Aries. We all are high rams because we all have cerebrams at the top of our heads. Cerebrums, the ram, Aries, the initiator. Yeah. And the fluids that pour down, the manna from heaven that drips from the cerebrum and the claustrum, the chrism, the Christ, it is dripping down and it falls and it goes all the way down your nervous system, through the pineal gland, through the pituitary, through the thymus, thyroid, all the way, and it gets differentiated through every gland it passes, and finally it hits the sacrum, and from the sacrum, where your genitalia and your generative system is, you there with sacred sexual practices, you now are re-energizing those fluids and you are returning them to Aries, Hiram, the builder of the soul of man's temple. And as the great George Carey said, those fluids that come from the claustrum, they produce the corpuscles, or what we call the particles, or the parts, the smallest parts of our body, and they all come from Hiram, the ram, Aries, from the claustrum, from the cerebrum, to build the rest of the body. See, of the 12 systems in the body, the cerebrospinal system, ruled by Aries, is the first fully developed, and it is the builder of the other 11 systems: the muscular, the skeletal system, the lymphatic, the excretory, etc. Aries, Hiram, and the soul that he builds is the temple. Your temple, you must clean your temple. Today, you must put good, vibrant food into your temple. Take your top off, go out into the sun, bathe in the sun. Put some coconut oil all over your body. Eat the coconut oil. Do coconut oil pulling. Cook in coconut oil. If you're still eating cooked food, get off olive oil. Get off fats, butter. Don't touch them, because the moment they go over 100 degrees, they are toxic. Only coconut oil and a few other oils do not change their molecular structure and become toxic when you cook. So do these things. Go out, do them. Plant the basil, plant the
number
parsley.
one priority. Priority.
Yeah, go. Grab the calls first, because they cost.
Okay. Hello, caller.
I don't have a question. I just want to let Santos know the influence he has on people all around the world. In my instance, first of all, my name is Dylan. And for my instance alone, I was in a bad situation down in Florida in the United States. And believe it or not, I came across Santos through a correctional officer that was actually sneaking in hard drives with your videos from your School of the Holy Science. So I just want to let you know the influence that you're having on people all around the world, and I'm just glad I bumped into this information.
Beautiful, Dylan. Thanks for sharing that, brother. You've strengthened my heart immensely, and all the listeners, because in the prisoners, in the prison cells, our brothers and sisters who are suffering there and being killed and raped and hurt, they are also being helped. Okay, so you've given us hope, brother. Please, anyone else who has any similar stories of hope, hop on and share them with us. And by the way, Dylan, don't forget, your name is Atomic.
Sitting there.
Sorry, brother, I just want to share this with you, as all names come from atom. So yours is clearly, Dylan is D-A-N, Dan. Okay, so if you've seen the atom stuff that I've got, rejoice, Dylan. It's a great name.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've definitely been through that and stuff, man. That stuff's amazing. But the crazy thing is, about a year before that, maybe 2 years before that, man, I was full-blown Christian. And my journey just kept going and going. And this must have been about 3 years ago. I was locked up there. And believe it or not, a correctional officer is the one that he popped up. He's like, check out this guy, Santos Bonacci. And I was sitting there, sorry to use that name, but I was sitting there, and he just started sneaking in hard drives, and I'm watching it that night. And then I just started getting the information from that point on. I seen your voice, I seen what you had to offer, and that was it. It was a wrap from there on.
Beautiful. Wonderful to hear from you, Dylan. Yeah. I'm so happy. This has made my day, possibly even more, a week or a month of rejoicing. I will remember. I'll never forget this, and it will always strengthen me. Thanks, Dylan.
Can you tell me about the atom thing again one more time?
Dylan. Okay. Well, Dylan is an atomic word. Atom becomes Adam, becomes Adan, D-A-N, and hence the lost tribe of Dan, and Dylan has D-A-N in it. It's hiding in there, right? Just minus the Y and the L, that is Dan. And
my brother's name is Dan.
Well, there you go, brother. See, I'm showing people how we have one language in the universe, and it is atomic. And when you meditate on the word atom as the first of all words, then all will be revealed to you. Then you will see how all words are born, all thoughts, all worlds, all things come from atom, from that word, because that word is the word of God. It is not only a word, it is a noise, it is a sound, it has syllables, and all. To understand words, there's three ways to understanding words. They are made up of letters, syllables, and then finally the complete word. If you do not know the value
sound
of
too, right, Santos? The sound also. right?
Exactly.
The sound
but,
of it, the vibration.
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. Yeah,
Yes, but
the trick. Yeah,
Yeah. How do you spell your name?
it's Dylan.
You want to hear something wild, Santos? That is my last name, but it's Dillon.
Oh wow! My last name is Dixon. Dixon.
What, Dylan?
My last name is Dixon. Dixon. My brother is Dan. And my other brother is Devin.
Ah. Yes, so it's the sound, right? Santos, the vibration. But, I mean, you can't make this kind of stuff up. Dylan comes on, and I was just on, and Dylan's my name. That's my matrix name, I guess you'd say. My father's
Yeah.
the given name, yeah.
Wow, yeah, this is absolutely amazing. I've been sitting here for the last 20 minutes figuring out how to get a call through, and it just keeps popping up on the live feed. So I finally got through, man. I feel blessed to actually get to be on the same line as you said there, Santos. I've been trying for a long time now.
I'm so glad you got through, brother. I'm so glad. It means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And I know how much it means to the listeners too. They've all been encouraged. Courage. Take courage, for I have conquered the world, is what the Lord Jesus, the greatest literary hero that we know from the West, who is an Egyptian hero, actually it's Horus, he said that. Take courage, for I have conquered the world. You know, we do not have to live in fear. We've always been given that mandate to take courage by the greatest universal electrical force of the universe. Take courage, for I have conquered the world. We will conquer this world.
Absolutely.
Because that's who we are.
You're taking us one step at a time, my friend.
Beautiful. We have another caller.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you very much for calling.
Beautiful, Dylan.
One love, one love.
Hello.
Hello?
Hi there.
Hello?
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, hello. What's your name?
Jacob. Jacob.
Okay, please go ahead. Ask your question to Santos.
Yeah, my little brother's name was actually Dylan as well, and just all the synchronicity happening, I was calling to maybe get a little translation on my name, and also thank Santos for all of his work. You're a great brother to have. Thank you.
Thanks, bro. What's the name that you want me to break down?
Yeah, it's Jacob, and I've had a lot of encounters with like Jacob's ladder and climbing up the spiritual ladder, and also wanting to change my name because prophecy and like readings of the Bible. Later, it got changed to Israel, and I found great power in that name. It almost felt like a spiritual name.
Yeah, well, it is, because Israel is. Jacob had his name changed to Israel. So these names are linked. Let me explain how. Jacob is Jack. It's a nickname for the sun, you know. Jack and Jill climbed up the hill to fetch a pail of water. That's talking about the sun and the moon. Jill is the moon. So they go up and down the ecliptic, you see. Day and night they go up and down to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown. That's the sun. And Jill came tumbling after, whatever. So Jacob is Jack. Now, in Ireland, they call that one Patrick, St. Patrick, right? But in England, it's the Union Jack, and it's on their flag. And on their flag, they have the red, white, and blue, or should I say, the white, red, and blue, which is otherwise known as Israel. See, Isis is white light, pure. She's the virgin. She doesn't vibrate. White light, magnetic white light, is the cause and source of red and blue light, which is electrical light, which vibrates, the proton and the electron. See, electricity is impure because it vibrates. And in the two colors that are produced, the first two colors that emanate from white light are red and blue. Not red, not blue, red and blue. They come together. One does not exist in this universe without the other. They are the two twins. The two twins in the Bible are red and blue because that's electricity. And electricity is born of magnetism. Magnetism is white light. It's the cause and source of electricity. It doesn't vibrate. And so Israel, Isis, proton and electron, in other words, neutron, proton and electron is all that atom is all about. The atom is all about Israel because inside atom is neutron, proton, pyroton, P-Y-R-O, fire, pyroton, the proton is the rhotic letter R, the red, the radiant positive electricity, half of electricity. The other half is L, electron, blue. It's the blue part of the color spectrum of electricity. And those red and blue, they produce all the other colors, and they are born of white. And so when the Union Jack, when they stick that in your face, they're showing you red, white and blue flags are all about the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit, or red, white and blue, or Isis, Ra and El. And the Union Jack is none other than the sun on the ecliptic, because the cross on the Union Jack is the same cross that you'll find on the pavement of the Vatican. Have a look at the short YouTube video called Christianity Revealed. It's 10 minutes long. And have a look at the Union Jack hiding right there in the biggest square on the planet, St. Peter's Square, and you will see how that Union Jack depicts the solstices and the equinoxes. The centering line is the equinoctial line, and the other lines of this labarum or Constantine's cross, or what they call the Kiro cross, the other lines are the solstices, when the sun reaches the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. And so Jacob is Jack. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Jack jump over the candlestick. The candlestick is the equinox. When Jack jumps over the candlestick, guess what? It's the Passover, and we have Easter, because now we have the sacrifice of the Lamb of God, the Passover Lamb. And the Lamb and his bride are having their wedding feast, you see, because the full moon, she's in Libra, opposite Aries. And so, yeah, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jump over that candlestick, because we always want Jack to be in Easter. That's where Jason finds the golden fleece. Jason and his 12 labours. Anyway, there you go. That's as much Jack that I can do for today.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you very much.
Hello?
Hello there. Hi. What's your name?
Hi, my name's Roxanne.
I'm Roxanne. Please go ahead with your question.
Hi. Thank you. This is great to speak with you, Santos. I've been listening to you for probably about 1.5 years now with understanding. I've heard you before, and I didn't understand what you were saying, so I went away for like 1 year and was able to, I found you again, and then I'm like, I'm kind of understanding what he's talking about now. And actually, it's kind of a great gift to talk to you today because it is my birthday. So thank you for taking this call.
Yeah, great. Thanks, sister. Thanks for sharing that too. That's very encouraging, because I do get reports from people that like to tell me that, they can't understand what I'm saying or whatever, just to rub it in. Or I do get people who say, see you later, I don't want to listen to you anymore, whatever. And
right.
But then when people do give it a second chance, because the truth is shocking. We've got to go through a lot of processes to be able to filter out all the rubbish that is in us from indoctrination. And so it's shocking. You'll hear something truthful and you'll reject it for 10 years. I've done it. I've rejected eternal truths for years and years, and then they stick out and stand out in front of your face. You can't deny it once you go through other processes. So you had to go away and, be more honest with yourself, I guess, and then have another go. And then when you did, there you go. You gave it a chance, and you were able to, look through the rubbish and your own filtering that was going on.
Right. Well, and I think I just didn't have as much education and knowledge in a lot that you were talking about. So it just wasn't making sense. And not that I didn't think that you had anything of truth. I just, just didn't have enough to make sense of it. So I figured, okay, I'll put that away for now. And then I came back across you, and then I realized to myself, I'm like, wait a minute. I remember hearing this guy, like, it was like a year ago, and I couldn't understand what he was saying. And so it was great to come back to it, and I was like, this is, because you're answering so many questions that I've been looking to others for, which they don't seem to be as straightforward about, Again, a lot of metaphor and this and that and things that just wasn't making any sense to me. So it's great to be able to come back and understand what you're saying now. And still, there are things I'm having to learn quite a bit. But I really appreciate what you've done for me, myself, and all the other people across the world, hopefully opening our eyes and revealing things to us that are right in front of us, but we just couldn't see. One thing I did want to ask you about, I know we always ask about names, so, but I was curious about my name. And I know you say everything comes back to Aton, and I've been trying to kind of see that in my name, and all I can come up with is Ox, the undivided one. I don't know. I mean, is there anything else you can kind of just reveal to me about that?
Yeah, what's your name?
Roxanne.
Oh, Roxanne. Okay. Sorry, I forgot. Oh, Roxanne. Oh, yeah, for sure. Look at it, sister. It's staring right at you.
I'm not
Rox. Yeah, well, for a start, it starts with the letter R, the 18th letter, which is the number of the sun. 18 times 2 is 36, hence 360 degrees, the ecliptic, hence the number of the sun is either, you can have either 18 or 9 or 36. But any one of those from root 9, because root 9 is the sun, okay? So 36 and 18. So it starts with the letter R, and regardless of whether it's ro or ra or re or ru or re, doesn't matter about the vowel, it will always be the letter that is half of the electrical force in the universe. It's the proton, right? So it's the most powerful vibratory sound, the rhotic R, that is the rrrr, like the Italian ragazza, ragazzo. Probably the Scottish have a similar thing, but the French, Spanish, Portuguese, they all know this rhotic sound. I would practice it in the shower. I'd develop that vibration. You need it because it's a very powerful. Yeah. So Roxanne, that's Ra. That's Ra coming out. That's the key Ro, and Ro is rhotic. It's called the rhotic liquid. Okay, and the other half of electrical force is the letter L. These two are interchangeable, the letter R and L. So already there is Ra in your name. Your name is born of the sun, Ra, and that is Atum. Okay, because Ra, Atum is he's not only known by that epithet, he is also known by the epithets of Re Atum and Atum Ra. Okay, so take your pick, but Ra is always there. Roxanne, then you've got your X. That also is that's the cross. That's the letter X. Yeah, the letter X is the 24th letter of the alphabet. Okay, so YZ being the 25th and the 26th. So being the 24th, it's made up of 6, 6, 6, 6, because you've got 6, 12, 18, 24. Well, guess what? We've already got the 18th letter, the letter R in your name, Roxanne. Now we've got the letter X, right? And which is the 24th. So and the letter L, which I mentioned previously, is the 12th. So what we have here is we've got the letter R is powerful because it's 666. It's the mark of the beast. It is the sound. It is half of electrical force, the proton. The proton is 666. Rest assured, that is the alchemical, theological, true interpretation of what the proton is and what the letter R is. And the color red and your name. So you've got your name starts with 666, row, and then have you got 2 X's in there?
No, just one.
Just one. Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And An is anagogic. Fire comes from agnes, ignis, ignite. Nitrogen is ignitrogen. The number of nitrogen is 7, and ignis is the lamb, and 7 is always associated with the lamb. Remember in Revelation, the lamb that has 7 seals. It's Aries, the Lamb of God, and the 7 chakras. Those are the 7 seals that must be opened to get to heaven. And so Ignis, Agnes, and Anna and Hannah all mean fire, all mean the lamb. The universe is a lamb because it is a lamp. It is light. It is a light universe. So it is a lamp, it is a lamb. Revelation 21:23, and the sun shall not shine in the city of God because the city shall have its own light source because the lamb shall be its lamp. And some versions say, and the lamp is its lamb, or the lamb is its lamp. So there you go. That's what is in your name, Roxanne. All names go back to Atum. Sorry for sounding so pontifical when I say that, but I love stressing.
It's interesting because it goes quite a bit with the Aries. And I'm also a Reiki practitioner, so that light with the Yan, it's kind of interesting to hear that. I was also curious, I've never really heard you speak about Reiki, your thoughts on Reiki. How do you feel about that practice? Reiki? How do you feel about Reiki?
My wife does Reiki. Yeah. And whenever we've got a bit of a lag, so just be mindful of that. There's a bit of a duplexing going on, so we're talking over each other a little bit. But every time she does Reiki to me, it has immediate effect. So, Reiki is Ra. Again, that's what it means. And Ki is the Ki energy, Chi, Prana, Holy Spirit. So Ra's Holy Spirit, Reiki, you can't go wrong. Reiki Roxanne.
Well, that's great, because that is, I've been a Reiki practitioner for about 6 years now, and I do it, and I make jewelry and infuse some of the Reiki into the metals in the gem when I work with it too. So it seems, I guess, I'm kind of going in the right direction. I'm hoping.
All right. Lovely. Well, I'm going to call you Reiki Roxanne. I'm cheeky, but there you go. You've got a Rake, Roxanne, and Rake. So interesting how these things occur when you pay attention. You see these things. It's interesting phenomena that follows you in your whole life, that certain names and certain sounds and certain themes will always be there when you pay attention.
Definitely. And I really much appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And I will let you go. And I'm going to keep listening to you, though. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roxanne. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to call it a night because I'd say it's pretty late where you are, too.
Okay, let's take another one. One more from the chat. Question. What can we foresee happening spiritually and emotionally this year, 2015, after the full moon yesterday?
Yeah, next week we'll talk about the full moon of yesterday, because I wanted so much to do that today, but today what I shared today I thought was more important for right now, because in the now all things are happening, and the control system has been given notice. There's no doubt about this. Universally, on every level, the control system has been given notice. It doesn't work anymore. Controlling just don't work. Whereas self-determination is the universal mode. There's an atomic word, mode, backwards for Edom. Edom is the color red. Adam, the color red. Again. Anyway, mode. The universal mode is this beautiful way of expressing itself by its will, its own self-determination. So what's the control system still hanging around for? We can expect the potential is for paradise to be here now, because it is. It really is. And we just have to invert the switch. We have to flip that switch over, guys. There's a little switch inside of us that goes from fear to love and goes backwards and forwards, man. You can get yourself trapped in fear for hours on end until you flip the switch back. And unless you stay in the universal love at all times, nothing can touch you or hurt you as you stay in that love. It's like a protective room, and nothing will hurt you. If it is your time that you must pass away and you do get hurt, it's for the betterment of you, because that means you've done well, it's your time or whatever, as they say, because this is partially a correct truth of fatalism and predestination. There's truth in these. These are structures that have meaning and truth on this plane. But the universe's mode is for us to express our free will and to be self-determined. And that the potential of that existence for all of our brothers and sisters is right there now. It is the way we practice our lives. Many people are already practicing self-determination and they're awakening to it. Many people are becoming self-responsible and are doing the right thing on many levels. You see people doing little things, you can see that they're waking up, going back to nature. But we just need to, it's all about numbers. If 90% of the population are asleep, it's pretty hard to deal with that, isn't it? 10% critical mass is probably going to do it. I don't know. Some people say we just need the 3. Some say we just need 144,000 spirit awakened men and women. That's a very symbolic number, this 144,000. Some say we need 10%. I don't know, but you want to know what I believe? Well, what I believe, because I can't know for a certainty, no one knows the hour. What that means is no one knows when the universe is going to pull it off. That this particular cell that we live in, this pod, this solar system, is going to flip its polarity. And we're waiting for that moment, critical mass. And this is likened to paradise, returning. Paradise has been lost. We fell out of paradise. The fall was simply just a period along the ecliptic. That's all it is, where the sun loses much of its connection to its source and becomes dim. Dim. Backwards for middle, because the sun is in the middle, solo. like the moon, mono, in the sky. So Sol, Solo, Sol Invictus, is in the middle, but he is dim. You see, those words backwards in the mirror. Because he is Adam, he is dim in his light. But what's happening is the sun now is returning to a place along the ecliptic where it receives more help, and it's injected with much more source light. And so it can actually disperse more source light, and we can be more conscious and awakened. And so when the Christ returns, when this cosmic consciousness returns, we will all know it, because we will all be struck with a thunderbolt of higher consciousness, and we will all say, hey, why the heck did I hurt you and hate you and call you names, and how come I didn't love you? And we'll just wonder that, because we will have a knowingness of the oneness of all of that we are. We're all just cells in God's mind. We're little dendrites, little synapses and particles and entangled particles in God's universal mind. Call it God. God, generation, operation, dissolution. The demiurge, the ademiurge, or demiurgos. Demigod. It's Adam. It's all Adam. And it's all atomic. That's why you have an anatomy. And so with these bodies, we give glory to God by purifying them. We're here to alchemically purify our bodies. If you don't turn your lead into gold, well, you're just going to have a whole bunch of lead to offer on that day, and you'll be too heavy. So, gold is God. Take away the L, 12th letter, 6, 6. But you must turn your lead into gold. That's the only advice I can really give you about what you've got to do now. First thing I would say is that to folks in your temple, do those fasts. Wean yourself off rubbishy food. Go get organic stuff. Go raw. Don't be afraid. They tell you that it's bad move. No, it's not. You've got to do it with knowledge. You have to activate your food, your raw food. Learn how to ferment and sprout. This is called activation. So you can have activation cereals. I have some at home. I put it in my coconut yogurt and fruit morning breakfast. I have activated seeds and nuts, and you can't go wrong. Anyway, look, that drifted a bit from the question, but we can all now take a deep breath and allow yourself to have some love. Give yourself some love. Have a moment of bliss. Be still. Be silent. Say a prayer for the universe and send it off. And that we will arrive in God's rest. I've always been looking for the rest. That's what the Sabbath is all about, you see. The Jews and the Seventh-day Adventists rest on the Saturday, and the Christians should be resting on the Sunday. Saturn and Sun, always Horus and Set. There's that war all the time. You see, the two Sabbaths. Oh, should it be Saturday or should it be Sunday? Should it be Set's day or should it be Horus's day? Horus and Set. And so they should be resting. That's God's rest. We've reached the rest, and that is Aquarius. You see, when you see the sign of the Son of Man in the heavens, know that the kingdom of God is at hand. That's Aquarius. The Son of Man, there's only one Son of Man on the ecliptic. And that's Aquarius. And when you see that sign on the ecliptic, on the 21st of March, at Easter, wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, look out, grab your phones, your iPhones, look out to the horizon in the east in the morning when the sun rises, and see what sign the sun is in. Well, it'll tell you Pisces or Aquarius, near Pisces or Aquarius. So look, but rest assured we're in the age of Aquarius. But you'll see the sun, you'll see Aquarius there. It's near Aquarius, unmistakably. Go out right now. It's still we're still in Aries. You can still see this phenomena. For the next month, you will see Aries, Pisces and Aquarius rising, and you'll see the sun closer to Aquarius because we're in the age of Aquarius. We have gone through Pisces and Aries, but there you will see it. And that was what Jupiter Zeus, the ruler of Pisces, said. When you see the sign of the Son of Man in the heavens, know that the kingdom of God is at hand. And that's my prayer. Rest assured that every day I am praying this and giving off this energy that we may be in God's rest and we may all be at peace with each other, and there's no belligerence anymore. And the system that we have known and grown up in, the debt, slavery, usury system of the Vatican, where we are all known as considered to be in debt, slaves, bonded, belligerent, and hostile, lost at sea, incompetent, wards of the state, through that legal name. Let us remove ourselves from legal, which is the undoing of God's law, and let us put on the rule of law, God's law, the rule of law, and be self-responsible and self-determined. That's my prayer, guys. I know it's yours. Let us just, I guess, continue, never let up, and while we are continuing, not to be static, but to be dynamic. Dynamic. It's an atomic word. And grow our efforts. Because the more we grow them, the more they amplify out there in the field of potentiality. Because everybody else is tapped into that field. So we need to be transformers and amplifiers, amplifying this energy. Thanks, and thanks for listening, friends, and Colleen, Dylan, Roxanne, and all the other wonderful people who called in, and I thank you very, very much for all the love you show to me, and I love you equally and likewise. And I'm the luckiest one on this call because you all know me and send me love. But I don't know you. I've never seen your faces, some of you, on YouTube. You know, I've heard your voices. And so I know less about you. But rest assured, we have found our brotherhood. This is the brotherhood of truth. There is still some murky light, but the more source light is being channeled into this planet, the more the murkiness will disperse. And so the bright light of God is always the bright light of illumination. The road of illumination is always getting brighter. Simple. It gets brighter and brighter. So brace yourselves, grow this love, and never let up, and we shall reap what we have sown.